briefly off air, we were discussing Robert E. Howard's Conan stories and his space in the literary canon, I guess. I would love to see what Robert E. Howard's writing style would have evolved into if he had lived longer.
Right.
He killed himself, but when did he...
like 30s, 40s, I think, at the latest.
How old was he?
He was pretty young, I think.
I don't think he wrote very long. Let me look. He was 30 years old.
Yeah.
Damn. So Robert E. Howard put out such a crazy amount of work in 15 years, maybe, or however. Let's say he started as a teen, 15 years.
Yeah.
I don't think he was getting published as a teen, but even if he was, the fact that he was able to establish such a mature writing style at such a young age, because most writers, I feel, don't really develop into being actually good, mature writers for at least 10, 15 years. Like a lot of people, I feel like it's not until their 30s that they're really, I mean, you have your Fitzgeralds and stuff and Hemingways who, and maybe that's just indicative of their style, especially Hemingway, but their writing seems more mature from a younger age, but also those, which I guess Howard would have fell into, those guys from like World War I and World War II era, they had to grow up really quick. Also, they didn't live as long, so maybe they just matured faster. But I would have loved to have seen what like a 55-year-old Robert E. Howard, how he would have. He might not even wrote pulp stuff by then. He might have just went into being a novelist.
Well, and that was it too. When you add those years on, you add on like not only the way that his writing would change, but just like writing in general would change, and like maybe he would go more with like sci-fi, like because I mean you get some of that in like the Conan stuff and like that, but like maybe he, like you said, he just starts writing just something different.
Well, since he was kind of the inventor of like sword and sorcery fiction, and he dabbled in the cosmic horror that Lovecraft pretty much invented. I mean, those guys were like the sole inventor. It's hard, the waters get muddy there, but they were basically the guys that created it. But I would have loved to have seen when the evolution of other fiction, like Vonnegut, comes around. If Robert E. Howard's still alive, does he start diving into that kind of literary sci-fi? That'd be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Because I love Robert E. Howard's style, but as we've read a bunch, you're reading the Solomon Kane stories now. Like when we did all the Conan stuff, and I read most of his collections now, every story does kind of read the same for the most part. Like you could tell what age he was when he was writing certain things and how he evolved, but a lot of like the descriptions and stuff are a little repetitive, and you have to wonder what he would have been able to do had he lived longer and was able to, also just maybe if he was mentally well.
Yeah, or just because I think we mentioned this during those Conan episodes, is like I think a lot of that is because like how strict like the deadlines were for stuff. So it's like if you already have like a built-in description, like you already have that part to write. You know what I mean?
It's like how South Park just reuses animation now because they have it saved on their computer.
Yeah, so like it's probably a time saver, and like you never know when somebody new is like this. It could be somebody's first Conan story or Solomon Kane story. So like you have to make sure that they know what the things are and stuff like that. What would be nice if like we were saying, like if he lived longer into a time when like where like, because I think back when his time, I don't think like writing a novel was really affordable or like, you know what I mean?
For genre pulp stuff, no.
So like
who were the first pulp writers? Probably Ian Fleming and Raymond Chandler, maybe.
Yeah, because like he's written some longer stories, but to even say like him to do like a full-fledged like Conan and Solomon Kane like novel, even
where he could really flesh out the world and the characters, that would be amazing, because his stories usually were longer, but they still had a limit. If he had a 250-page novel he was able to do, that'd been fucking awesome. But that would have been really cool just to see a older Robert E. Howard. But you can say that about a lot of great writers, like even like a Fitzgerald or some of these guys who died before they probably should have. I guess if you play the what if game long enough, you can come up with all kinds of scenarios. Like, what if Philip K. Dick wasn't a meth head? What if
even the guy on your show, Poe, like what about if he was around for long, a little bit longer?
Yeah, Poe died 43 or so. He was in his 40s. I think Lovecraft died in his early 40s.
Yeah.
I want to say Fitzgerald died in his 40s or maybe 50. I think he died of like liver cancer or something crazy. He was a drunk. I don't think Fitzgerald Fitzgerald didn't outlive Hemingway.
What about this? What about if Kafka was known?
If Kafka became like famous?
Yeah.
That would have been interesting to see, like if he actually got to see that people loved his work. And he's like, oh, I'm not a shit writer after all. Because he thought he was shit. He told his best friend to burn everything he had when he died. Fucking crazy. Yeah, the what if game, we could do a whole episode on that maybe in the future. We'll look up some of the biggest literary what ifs, scenarios. Like, what if Stephen King stopped writing in the 80s?
Yeah.
What if he just gave up?
His wife didn't pull Carrie out of the garbage can.
Yeah, what if Mark Twain was born in the 20th century? There's so many different things you could do with that. That'd be a lot of fun. Anyway, we have an episode that I think you'll enjoy, Spencer.
Yay.
Let me bring it up. We're going to be talking about dead book genres.
Oh.
So book genres that are no longer prevalent in the literary landscape. How does that make you feel?
That's probably a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I'm interested. I did not read this list because I want to be surprised with you.
Okay.
So I saw some of the highlighted bits on Google before I clicked on it. So we'll talk about that.
Maybe you give us some story ideas, maybe.
That could be it, or just bring back a dead genre.
Yeah.
I'm always about it because
this is what I'm saying. Yeah, like, come up with an idea to try to bring,
Well, like when we did the pulp episode, we were talking about, or at least maybe it was off air. I was talking to one of the guys from Starlight Pulp about like the genres that people don't write anymore, the pulp genres, like the old war stories or the aviation stories.
Yeah.
There's a lot of genre stuff that just people don't write anymore. Some of it's just because it's, the time period doesn't make sense, but
people don't want, like, there's a select people who like the war stories and they're older and a lot of them probably have died off.
Yeah.
And it's just not a big market.
Or like I would imagine what would be in 50, 60 years, COVID stories probably.
Yeah.
Like, people would be like, well, I don't fucking want to. Nobody's writing COVID stories, even if there's another pandemic. They might be sick of it. Anyway, we'll be back in a moment, and we'll have hopefully a fun talk. I want to keep it a little short because I'm really tired of editing. Every time I say short, it still goes 45, 50 minutes, and I want a half hour if I can.
Okay.
So we'll see. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me, as always, the guy that's about to glug a fucking Gatorade as we go live.
No.
We're not live.
No.
We're not really live. I can edit it out. So you going glug, 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 glug.
So, like, I try to drink my Gatorade off mic to the side and stuff, but you just chug your drinks into the mic.
Yeah, but it's when you're talking, so nobody cares, and also you're a loud swallower. And I don't think anybody gives a shit anymore. Anyway, with me as always, I should make something about Gatorade glugging, but no, I'm going to stick with the one I just came up with.
All right.
With me as always, Spencer, the Sligo Starbucks Shitter Church.
Ooh.
Shitting in the Starbucks. Barnes & Noble would be more applicable for that.
But yeah.
Because I see so many memes. Was it that one video the guy was like, he kept giving he was just rating places from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I loved it because it would be like some awful description and then he just go 5 stars. But at the last one, he was like, Barnes & Noble Barnes & Noble keeping people from shitting their pants since 1962. 5 stars.
Yeah.
The way he said stars too. He said like a fucking Boston guy. 5 stars. I don't know who that guy was. I wish I could credit him because that was a fucking funny video. I watched like 10 times. I don't know when Barnes & Noble was actually established, but yes, people have been shitting in their bathrooms for as long as they had a bathroom.
Well, it's like any bookstore because the couple of times like I've been to Half Price Books recently,
terrible.
It's always like a line at the shitter. Like, what is going on?
There is. The Japanese have a term for it. I forget what it is, but it's something that when you go into a bookstore makes you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
I don't get that, but then again, I do go
and shit in the bathroom.
But that's because usually for us, I don't shit in the bathroom generally because it's so disgusting. But I've shown you like Barnes & Noble pubes urinal, like just pubes everywhere. But for some reason, I know what it is for us. Every time we go to a Barnes & Noble, it's a drive.
Yeah.
So usually we have to travel 30, 40 minutes to go to a Barnes & Noble. So for us, it kind of makes sense, but for people who are just local, like, why are you going to the Barnes & Noble and shitting it up? It's like people go to our gym and shit it up. It's like, do it at home before you get here. What the fuck? Anyway, we lost the plot already. Today, we are talking about dead book genres. This is brought to us by our friends at, I don't know how to say this, monstrumology.com.
Ooh.
monstrumology. This article was written in 2023 by Louise. Just Louise.
Okay.
Or is that Lewis? Louise is how do you spell Lewis? There's no E in Lewis, right? That's Louise. That's one of those names I get wrong every time because then I'm like, do you call him Lewis or Louis?
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't say, it's Louise. You wouldn't say Louise.
Yeah.
Lewis's. Go home. I'm already home.
Yeah.
Hi, friends. I'm not reading this introduction, so sorry, lady. Just go into the genres. Do you have, before we go, any book genres do you think have fallen off, Spencer?
Well, I mean, like some of the like we were mentioning in the opening.
Well, those are pulp genres. This is
True.
actual book
Book
genres.
genres.
So these were novels.
Oh, okay.
So it could be the same, but it might be different.
Yeah,
like
because
said,
I was
haven't
just
looked.
thinking, like, like war stories, like you were saying. I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see what.
If I had to wager a guess here, I would say like something along the lines of the King Arthur type of tales, or like the chivalric romances. Though that might be too old because that was around like that's what inspired like Don Quixote.
Mm-hmm.
So we're thinking, when were those, 1100 to 1300 range?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that falls on the list because that's really old. But people don't write those kind of stories anymore.
Yeah.
I would guess in that vein, maybe like romance is a big genre, but maybe if there's like a subgenre of romance, which could be that, but other things. Like you said, war stories, maybe. I mean, there's still, again, these are probably still things that are getting written, but just not enough to.
I think maybe some kind of like, because then sci-fi is still a big thing, but I'm like almost like that pulpy sci-fi,
Yeah.
like that. I again, like I don't know how you would describe it, but
Yeah.
maybe like the cosmic horror. There's not a lot of cosmic
No,
horror.
I think it made a comeback because H.P. Lovecraft's work is falling into public domain now.
Mm.
It's another thing. When things go into public domain, people start writing them again. I honestly can't think. Westerns, maybe? There's still Westerns. Maybe like the old style Westerns? I don't know. I guess we should jump into the list instead of just fucking guessing like assholes. The first one, not numbered list.
Mm.
Which, I mean, it's not going to be a best or worst
Yeah,
list,
right.
but I still like numbers. The first one on this list is invasion fiction.
Okay.
What do you think that entails? Do you think space, alien type of invasions, like the
That's-
Orson Welles stories? Or do you think like
That's
war?
that's my initial, like, if you just say invasion, that's my initial thought is the alien angle.
Well, let's dive in. Invasion fiction is a genre that is pretty much what it says on the tin. The tin. Oh no, did we click on another? What was that guy's name? Lester.
Oh,
Fucking 90-year-old man. I forget his name. People who haven't listened to the episode don't know what we're talking about, but we read an article by a guy named Lester. I forget, he was a old timey pulp writer, but the article is so old sounding. Like, it made me sound like an idiot. All right, so this is about invasion. Duh. It was popular between the 1870s and the First World War. I would not have guessed that, so I'm thinking not aliens then.
no, yeah.
And there are no prizes for guessing what happened during these two dates to make it a popular genre. Give you a hint, it's colonialism. So war is my other guess. They usually featured white country. Oh, you know what? Well, this is talking about British, France, Germany, white countries, but I would think maybe that would fall into, which is another genre, which I don't know what the name of it would be, but back then probably like Indian fiction. Like probably goes along with the invasion, like people, frontier fiction maybe, like frontiersmen fighting off Native Americans and like basically invading and vice versa. And I used Indian because that's what they would have referred to it as back then. So they usually featured white countries like Britain, France, Germany. They said France. They didn't put the N in. I don't like this article anymore. They misspelled France. And you know what? I actually like it better because they misspelled France. France, Germany, and the United States being invaded by people from strange countries, but it has since become a staple subgenre of science fiction with alien invasion. So it actually morphed. Good. That makes better sense. But then until we, colonize the universe, and then all of a sudden, now we're assholes again. These stories have declined in popularity with the fall of colonialism, but it did have a revival during the Cold War when there were fears of Western countries being invaded by Eastern Europeans. So anytime there's like a major outbreak of tensions among the world powers and different races possibly invading other ones, you're going to get invasion fiction. I can't say I read invasion fiction. Let's see what they give examples. The Battle of Dorking, George Tompkins Chesney. The War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells. That was our initial guess. Yeah. 6th column, Robert A. Heinlein. There's no T. Heinlein. Robert A. Heinlein. That guy that's probably Jewish wrote a book called The 6th Column, and watch it be some terrible Schindler's List like book that I'm making fun of here. So I would say that we were both right.
Yay. I like being right sometimes. Doesn't happen too often.
Doesn't happen often, and when it does, it usually leads to us getting in trouble. Next up, chivalric romance.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's what you were saying.
Out of all the genres I've mentioned in this book, you mentioned one genre. Did you write this out of order? You mentioned one genre. Louise, if that's your real name. This doesn't read like a Louise. This really reads like a Frankie. Frankie dipshits. No, I'll delete that. I can't make fun of people that we're stealing work from.
We have before, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't think anybody cares. Shit, I wish I could just invite these people on. Like, why'd you write such a shit article?
And put it out.
This article doesn't seem shit. I'm just saying, we've had some shit articles we've read from, which we shouldn't do. Out of all the genres I've mentioned in this post, this one died off the earliest, not easiest. Chivalric romance is arguably the original romance genre and was mainly popular in the Middle Ages. Yeah, I already talked about this. When you think about the fairy tale tropes and stuff, they all come from chivalric romances, knights saving princesses, and your favorite, questing. So maybe the King Arthur tales fall under this because there's a lot of questing and damsels in distress. Do you think the word dame came from damsel?
Probably.
Is that why it's illegal to use now? Because I heard you get shot if you say it.
Say dame?
Yeah. I'm going to fucking edit in a woo-woo. The genre fell out of fashion around 1660 and was famously deconstructed by Miguel de Cervantes' novel Don Quixote. I can never say I can't. Nicholas Obregon can do it real well. Don Quixote, looking back, Don Quixote I think is originally spelled with an X.
Yeah.
For the Q. Yeah, because I think back then they didn't have a Q.
Like the letter?
Yeah. Looking back on it, it's not surprising to see why it's unlikely a genre would ever make a comeback. Because people aren't fucking saving damsels in distress. If anything, it would be reversed. Women saving men from distress. I'd like that.
Yeah.
So let's have a fucking name for men. Not Mimbo, because that's not funny anymore. What's a good name for a man that's a damsel? A dame. A broad. But a man. Let's come up with some terms. Yeah. A shufla. I don't know. That sounds a little Jewish. Oh, fuck. What are things men like, apparently? Abs. Working out. A lunk. Lunk is one we could probably use. Saving a lunk. A mud stuffing.
I'm
starting to think about those English terms. That English dictionary. A cleebob. No, that's a fucking German monster. Let's not do this. Mamsie. That's the best one. A mamsie. Thank you, Spencer, for coming up with one that wasn't stupid. Ooh. This next one. Think Civil War era.
Okay.
What genre of fiction do you think fell out of favor?
Slave fiction?
Very close. Plantation literature.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's going to steer more towards like the Southern Belle type of stuff. Maybe even like a Gone with the Wind, which I never read or watched the movie, but I'm assuming it was about the Civil War. Yeah.
They're both so long.
So dry. It's not always a good thing when a genre completely dies, but this is a case where it deserved to be completely killed. Damn, that's bad. Plantation literature, also known as anti-Tom literature, was a genre in the 19th century that only existed to be racist and attempt to show the supposed benefits of slavery for black Americans. So those might come back now. Due to modern sensitivities and some certain asshole subsect of humanity, I use the word humanity loosely, wants to bring back such atrocities very blatantly on the platform known as Shitty X or Twitter. I see a lot of these sentiments shared all the time. But you know what? I think those sentiments wouldn't be shared if they made it illegal for you to use an anonymous pseudonym and you had to use your actual picture and your full name and address.
Well, I don't know about address.
Well, I mean, if you're going to shitpost.
Well, yeah.
Like on that platform. Because I think a lot of people would all of a sudden not be talking so much nonsense. Anyway, the name Anti-Tom comes from the Harriet Beecher Stiles book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. I had to do a book report on that.
Oh, yeah?
And you know what?
Do you remember any of it?
I do not, but I remember not liking having to write about it. Made me feel bad in my loins. In my loins, because back then I was a horny young man. And then I'm like, oh, no. I don't want to read about all this bad stuff. It makes me feel bad about being a white guy. So, yeah, we get it. Basically, awful slavery stuff. I didn't know it was actual genre, but it makes sense. Well, you know what? We forgot to read examples of the chivalric romance, which I think I pronounce different every time. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, and that's all we know of. Okay, that was not much of an example.
Okay.
I still think the King Arthur Tales falls under that, but examples of the plantation literature is what you actually care about. I'm not giving any examples of this trash.
Oh.
But I do know that one was made into a movie that glorified the U.S. biggest domestic terrorist group and arguably influenced its revival, the one with the white hoods. Wasn't that like Birth of a Nation?
Maybe.
With the KKK. Isn't that what that movie? I never saw it.
Me neither, yeah.
I always hear about it. I'm pretty sure that... I'm in trouble. So I said off air, I don't know why I always vacuum before you come over for the podcast because it makes me all sneezy. So yeah, I think that's what it is. I thought Gone with the Wind. I don't know if Gone with the Wind was racist. I just thought it was like a Southern asshole thing. All right, so this one I don't think actually fell off, but let's find out the reasoning. Western. I know it fell off in movies, but even so, they're still Westerns.
Yeah, there's still Western movies, and then
if you want to say the popularity fell off and they're not made in the abundance they once were, yes. But just saying that people aren't reading Westerns or writing Westerns.
Well, like even still, like at Barnes and Noble, there's like a Western section.
Yeah, of course we don't know how many of those are old.
True.
Western fiction isn't so much dead, but more hanging on for dear life. Okay, I don't think we need to go to it, but we'll get into this part because you'll like it. So it was incredibly popular in the 50s and 60s and then steadily declined in the 70s until it crashed in the 2000s. There have been attempts here and there to revisit this genre with The Dark Tower or to deconstruct it, like Little Big Man or Blazing Saddles. Are those books or are those just movies?
Blazing Saddles was like a TV series back in the day, wasn't it?
No, it was a Mel Brooks movie.
Oh, is that what it was?
The comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Western is a genre that people of younger generations I could see people not caring about Westerns and like Gen Z or even maybe even our generation. I like a good Western or as you love Blood Meridian anti-Western.
Yeah.
But I don't think Westerns will ever die. I think actually they'll make a comeback at some point just for the fact that once we're so far removed from it, it'll have like this romantification to the genre because people were like, oh, back in the good old days of the Wild West.
Well, then also a lot of people are realizing like they're watching a Western without watching a Western because like you remember that older movie, Four Brothers?
That's a good movie.
Yeah, but I remember watching like a behind the thing and they filmed it thinking of it as like a Western, like like the one brother comes back to town when somebody dies and they're going, and they to get their revenge and all that kind of stuff. So like
that is a good point. The themes of Western are always in movies still. It's just the setting of a Western, I think, has fallen out of fashion. Examples: True Grit by Charles Portis, Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I like that they put the anti-Western in. The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt. That is it.
Yeah.
This next one, I never heard of this genre.
Okay.
Adult adventure.
Yeah, is it like erotica?
It's gonna put my wiener in your
place
holes. Like it. It's probably not accurate or very fair to be I'm just gonna read it as it's written. It's probably not accurate or very fair to say that action books are dead. Judging by your face, you didn't understand that either. I think they added some words. But I never really see them published outside of children's literature these days. If a book... Wait. You want a rebuttal so bad. Just wait.
No. Not what I thought the topic was about.
Okay. I thought you were going to say, actually...
No. Because like we said like adult... I thought...
Just wait. If a book for adults is about someone traveling the world and getting into danger or fighting bad guys, it's more often called a thriller rather than an adventure book because adventures have so many overlaps with different genres. Okay. Spy books, fantasy, science fiction, crime, war, and even westerns could be considered adventure books because they do have that sense of travel, blah, 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 blah. Indiana Jones, Zorro, blah, blah, blah. In the kidlit world, adventure books are still going strong and have proven to be popular. So they're just saying there's not adult adventure books. Let's read the examples. I'd imagine like your Tarzans and John Carter's of Mars and that shit. Examples: Tarzan. Oh, there we go. Edgar Rice Burroughs. Treasure Island. Ooh, I do like Treasure Island. You need to read that.
I do.
Robert Louis Stevenson. The Three Musketeers. Alexandra Dumas. Dumbass. I'm gonna start laughing like that. Noxious pig man. The Famous Five and Secret Seven. Enid Blyton. The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I can honestly say that does make sense because those are like, especially Treasure Island and more specifically the Three Musketeers are like literary adventure. Do we have adventures like that? I think you could even throw Lord of the Rings kind of stuff into that, even though it's fantasy, like, adventure.
Yeah.
Are there modern adventures?
Well, do you need, so like, because like that may seem like to have like an adventure thing that there needs to be travel.
Would you consider like the Hike an adventure story?
I mean, like a fucking, like, it would be an adventure.
Trippy one.
Yeah, it'd be like adventure slash, like.
But they said it crosses all genres. It's just the loosely, like, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is an adventure story. The air balloon or whatever, the different H.G. Wells stories, a lot of them are adventure stories. I don't know. I never really actually thought about it. I don't think that's accurate. I think there's still adult adventures. It's just, like they said, oh, it's a thriller, but I think you can still say adventure. I think we're cutting fucking pubes here. Next up, Pulp Fiction. No, this is definitely making a comeback.
Yeah.
There's pulp cons and everything. Pulp isn't actually a genre of book, but it's a medium that technically doesn't exist anymore. That's fair.
Yeah.
People are trying to bring it back, but you're never... Well, you can bring it back because at some point with certain asshole tariffs in place, books might get so expensive that we'll go back to cheap-ass paper magazines.
Yeah.
Because people won't be able to afford to publish good works, and we'll get shit writers like us that get to publish stupid shit in fucking magazines that pay 5 cents a page. Oh, so actually that wouldn't be too bad probably for, the bleak dystopian future we're looking forward to. At least we would get paid in money and not corn or maybe exposure. I'm not even going to read this. I'm just going to say examples. Full novels weren't really published in pulp magazines, as we talked about earlier, in the cold open.
Yeah.
But some notable serialized characters are Conan the Barbarian, Cthulhu, Tarzan of the Apes, and Zorro. I still would say that the early crime stuff, like the Philip Marlowe stories and the Ian Fleming, James Bond, were pulp novels.
No.
I get that they're not technically, they're pulp stories. Come on, those are pulp stories in a novel. I would say that's when that started switching over.
Would you say the Walter Mosley novel we read?
That's pretty pulpy.
Now,
The Easy Rollins stuff.
Yeah. Now, what I wonder, because that was just the first book in the series, and I wonder, because he's still writing books in that series, isn't he? Or there's at least 15 or 20 of them, right?
I think so. Yeah, he's still alive.
I think they're supposed to go. I think the character's supposed to age.
So it's linear.
Yeah. So I wonder if they lose pulpiness. And maybe change more into the event, or not event, but the thriller, or just a procedural cop kind, or just a detective story,
I would imagine at this point he would mess around and just try different genres with the character, almost different. This is more of a noir story. This one's more of a Agatha Christie mystery. Things like that. Of course, we only read the one, so I don't know if Walter Mosley cares about writing stuff like that. He might just stick with, his brand. But
he's done some sci-fi and
he's done a bunch of stuff. That's what I'm saying. I know he's done we watched his masterclass. He's done other things. So I'd be interested to one day if I could get a collection just to every other month read one. Because they're easy reads.
Well, that's what I was thinking about, maybe seeing if I could, on the Kindle, see if I can find, a whole bunch of them for cheap. So that way I don't have, another 20 books.
Yeah, sometimes you get, an omnibus of them, yeah.
Just stacked in the corner. Well, that's my easy writing corner.
Next up is epic poetry. So think of your Iliads, Odysseys,
Beowulf,
the Divine Comedy. Yeah. There are bound to be people out there who still write epic poems, and there's people writing every one of these. By the way, there's some asshole writing plantation fiction right now, and he's loving it. And his name is Mike. No, it's not Mike. Could be Mike. I don't know what Mike does in his spare time. He's gonna fucking message us. You fucking assholes. I didn't say his last name. Humdinger. Mike Humdinger. There's probably a Mike Humdinger out there now. Fuck, I ain't listening to those guys anymore. How do they know what I do? Anyway, Jezebel was down on the lowly. No, we're not done. I want to use the word wharf.
Wharf?
Yeah, because I keep reading in this fucking Walt Whitman collection I'm reading, the poetry collection. Speaking of poetry. Leaves of Grass. I'm pretty sure he's used the word, or maybe it's fucking Ulysses. I don't know. I'm reading so many hard things at once. Someone's using the word wharf a lot. Something to do with the ocean, wharf. I might not be saying it right, but wharf.
Yeah.
I want to use it in something. I had that fisherman story. I should have used wharf in it. Let me look up the, yeah, I can do that. Let me look up the exact definition of wharf.
Well, okay, let me.
Shut up, Spencer. Oh, God damn it.
What's the definition?
International Game Fish Association. That can't be right. I don't think I know how to spell wharf. Also, don't think I'm saying it right. Wharf, I'm going to say C, not seafood. Oh, it's just with the H. I was all right. I was close. A structure on the shore of a harbor or on the bank of a river or canal where ships may dock to live. Okay.
You definitely could have used it.
Fucking could have used it so hard. I used the word bay and harbor a lot. I could have used wharf. Damn it. Fuck. I'm going to rewrite that. Rewrite the whole story, just throwing wharf. Yeah, so we basically get people aren't writing epic poems too much now. So, some examples. The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. Paradise Lost by John Milton. The Epic of Gilgamesh. Some person in ancient Sumer. I wish I was that one person in ancient Sumer. Sumer. S-U-M-E-R.
They don't even know his name now.
No, he's just, I want to be unknown, but have something lasting. It's probably just a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
The Iliad by Homer. Beowulf, some guy in Anglo-Saxon England. That sucks for that guy. Don Juan by Lord Byron. I've read almost all of these.
Yeah.
That's cool, I guess.
I read Beowulf.
I don't think I like too many of them. That's the end of that.
Oh, that was the last.
Yeah, that was it. It ended very abruptly. No epilogue. Any of those genres you're interested in revisiting other than epic poetry, which you've already read?
Adventure.
Adventure and by revisiting, I mean bringing back.
Yeah, like I would like to
Modern adventure.
Yes, just take a crack at writing like an
How
adventure
would you
story.
do a modern adventure though? That's not time period. You know, like this is set in 1700. Like actually have 2025 adventure story. What would the adventure be? Adult adventure, not dystopian.
Now, when you say adult, does that also mean the characters have to be adult?
Yes.
Because like you could literally have.
Well, remember, it's kid lit and adult.
Yeah.
So this is adult stories. Think of the Three Musketeers. So a lot of adventure stories of yesteryear were about storming castles and even war stories. What would our modern adventure entail?
I mean, you could do like something as simple as like a group of friends have to fucking drive from one coast to the next coast.
That's a road trip story. It's different.
How's that different than you're still adventuring though?
That's a road trip. It's its own genre. It's a very popular fiction genre, road tripping.
Yeah.
It is. I've submitted actually a road trip story and they got rejected. It was about people at a music festival took a bunch of mushrooms on accident and got fucked up, and then the adventure was fake. You know,
The what was fake?
The adventure.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spencer, I want to see Pulp Fiction make a amazing comeback, like the actual cheap magazines that we could submit. That's the thing, though. Would you want to be the guy who gets published 100 times in these pulp magazines? Nobody ever hears about them 20 years from now because there's too many.
Yeah, I mean,
for every fucking Robert E. Howard Conan, how many just unknown people were in that magazine he was in?
That's also, I mean, that we know of. I mean, I'm sure that there's some more like. I mean, like, we like the Pulp Fiction, but I mean, you get like those real serious, like, well, they're probably like, oh, there's fucking Franklin fucking Elf Face, or like, there's probably like names that other people know. Like, we're kind of like the novice of the.
Yeah.
Like, we're like the weebs of the Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. I do like me some Franklin Fuckface, Elf Face. Or fuck Elf Face, whatever you say.
Whatever I said.
Yeah, so I think that is all good and fun. I'm gonna strike out and see if I can write a good plantation story in reverse.
In reverse, so like as the point of view of the
an Elseworld type of story where black people are the enslavers.
I don't think they would let you write that story. You'd probably get in trouble for it somehow.
All right,
you'd be reappropriating a Elseworlds story that somebody else could write.
All right, I'm thinking about a farm containing nothing but animals who overtake the farmer.
Yeah.
The pigs will be in charge. See, nobody's ever written this, by the way.
Nope.
And I'm gonna 1986 is what I'm gonna call it.
Okay.
I'm just combining Animal Farm and 1984 into a stupid nonsensical thing that uses my birth year. I'm dumb. Anyway, we are going to be reading books coming up soon, not just quite yet. I'm going to be, as I talked about before, once I finish Ulysses sometime this year, I will be reading The Orchard Keeper by Cormac McCarthy. I suspect that'll take me 1 to 2 days.
Oh.
It's not very long, and I am an advanced reader now. I was going to move on to Moby Dick, but I really am feeling a confederacy of dunces.
Okay.
So I will need to know if you plan on just reading through the Solomon Kane collection or if you're going to actually start a novel here soon, too.
I mean, depending on how the Solomon Kane, do we need to have this conversation on?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so depending on how quick I go through them, how quick you are, I was maybe going to try to put some comics in between them. But even if I have to stop reading Solomon Kane for, as long as I get to finish the story that I'm reading.
I think I should be done with Ulysses in at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
And like I said, Orchard Keeper should only take me a couple days. So by maybe like April 10th-ish.
Okay.
I would think I'm done with everything I have to read. And that's assuming I don't, do one of those reading sprints where I just get really far ahead. So if you want to hold off on an actual novel until then we can read it.
Yeah, because if I get through Solomon Kane and you still have a little bit extra time, I can just do like some comics, or I can get like a head start on it since you're a little bit quicker reader than I am.
Yeah, because I'm actually going to need a break for Moby Dick of just something really fun.
Yeah, and hopefully that's fun.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually looked anything up, because what the story's about or anything?
I think it's set in Louisiana or New Orleans or something.
Because like it doesn't give you much like on the back. It's just like, oh, a fucking hilarious tale of what you know what I mean. It doesn't really give you any.
It's got hilarious in it. I'm good. So anyway, you folks can follow us at DPW Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow me, CalebJamesK.com. I was published. I should have did this in the intro. My story on Dying Island, which was on Siren's Call before they went out of business and just deleted everything in the world. That story got reprinted in Halloween Remains, which came out in October, which you could buy if you want, or if you want to read the story online for free, or buy the magazine, which is actually pretty nice quality. Peasant Magazine issue 3. What am I? I'm on 6 on something. Anyway, yeah. So Peasant Magazine issue 3, I'm in. You can buy that for $8 on Amazon, or you can just read the free PDF of my story on Dying Island on their website, which is just look up Peasant Magazine. It comes up. Spencer's OnlyFans. He is out there in County Sligo, and he is in a Starbucks, and he is shitting it up
everywhere.
Everywhere. So thank you for listening, and we will check you out next week.